So hello all. So today we'll be discussing some of the questions that were related to science and technology and environment, which is part in GS3. These questions came in this year mains paper. So we'll try to analyze the trends with respect to science and technology and also with respect to environment. How has been the trend, or was it on expected line, or was it on unexpected lines? So we'll try to do that, and we'll also try to analyze some of the questions, and we'll try to see some of the answers also. So first of all, let us begin with science and technology kind of trend analysis. So as we always say that in science and technology, we need to categorize the subject into various themes. So some of the major themes which is in science and technology is biotechnology, space technology, defense technology, nanotechnology, robotics, IT and computers, and there are some other miscellaneous topics in this science and technology. So what this table tries to do is that we have mapped the different types of questions that have come in different years, from starting from 2016 to 21 this year, and we have tried to do it thematically. So if you see, biotech has remained in previous few years as a favorite topic, favorite theme for UPSC to ask questions. So here you can see that in 2017 there was a question on stem cells. So here we have a category: the biotech, space tech, defense tech, nanotech, IT and computers. So in 2017 they had asked about stem cells, stem cell therapy specifically, and how the things are progressing in this therapy. Then application, or there was this question on impact of biotechnology, that there is a lot of activity happening in biotechnology sector in India, and how is that impacting the biopharma sector. And in 2019 this question had come, that how biotechnology is helping farmers. And so what we can see that in 2020 there was a gap. This biotechnology was not asked in 2020, but in 2021 again biotechnology came, but in a different form, and this time they asked how biotechnology is basically helping poor to uplift their condition. So you see that biotechnology has remained a favorite area, and this could be a area for further questions next year also. So we'll keep an eye on this. Next, this year question, there was a question on defense tech, that is a question on S400. So this question might have caught many students by surprise, but if you see the trend, that from defense sector, defense technology, UPSC had not been asking questions from for many years, and so this area has always remained potent with regards to coming of the questions, because this was an untouched area. So this year they have asked with regards to defense technology S400. This was quite in news because India is trying to purchase this. In fact, it has also received one battery, a few batteries of S400, and further procurement is also going on. So this is in context of CARTSA of USA, that all the countries which will go against USA, it is kind of a sanction. So any countries purchasing against US they will suffer sanctions against CARTSA. But India is able to purchase this from Russia, and that is a strategic feat for India. So that is why this question had become important. So, but they have asked a technical question, that how this S400 is much different from other air defense system which are available across the globe. And there was this question on blue LEDs. So you might think that this Nobel Prize for blue LEDs was given way back in 2014, and now they have asked, but IT and computers was untouched, as you could see, that for many years they hadn't asked any questions related to IT and computers. So this sector was, or this theme was important from exam point of view. And blue LED, we'll see why the Nobel Prize for blue LED was given. So nanotechnology was asked previous year, and there was general question with respect to science, that how science is interwoven in daily lives. This was asked in previous year, and how technology is helping to fight COVID. So this was a general thematic or science as such in a holistic framework. The question was asked in 2020. And previously, the focus was much more on space missions, as you could see. From 2016, 17, 18, 19, they were focusing much on space. So this was a question. There was a question that India is aspiring to have its own space station. So what are the challenges with respect to having a space station? Then also it had asked about a manned mission that India is good in sending other types of missions like orbiter or not even rover orbiter, but India is failing in respect to with respect to manned missions. So what are the various logistical and technical challenges with respect to manned mission? So this was a question in 2017, and in 2016 there was a general question on space technology, that what are the achievements till now with respect to space and technology. So basically what we had to do here is to write the achievements of ISRO here. So this part, it has not been coming from past 2 years. So this becomes a potential area for next few years. Space technology. So nanotechnology, its application was asked with respect to health sector in previous year. And you see that this nanotechnology was asked way back in 2016. It had asked about the nanoscience mission of India. So it came in 2020. So these are some of the areas which remain important for coming in future exams. So let us see what were some of the questions with respect to science and technology. Okay, before doing that, let us analyze also the trends with respect to environment. See, environment is also a broad topic. So in order to simplify our preparation and understanding, so we can divide it into various themes. So first theme could be pollution, or pollution related questions. Other major theme is climate change. Other theme is biodiversity, sustainability, and there could be other miscellaneous topics. So pollution has remained a major area of concern for all the policymakers around the globe. Also climate change. So we see this question of WHO standards with respect to air pollution. They have revised their guidelines, and the UPSC has asked a very factual question with respect to what are the new guidelines, how the Indian guidelines are matching, or how much they will have to catch up. So this was a very factual type of question, but we can say that it was on expected lines. That previous year, last year, they had asked about NCAP, that National Clean Air Program. And this year again there was this COP, that is Conference of Parties at Glasgow. So a question was expected on this. So a kind of simple question was asked based on the outcomes in the Glasgow meeting. Also, this green grid, which comes under sustainability, green grid was also was in news in September. Because on the sidelines of the COP, India and UK jointly declared that they would be launching a green grid initiative. So if you see thematically, so pollution has become an important area of from where questions has been asked or they are intending to ask. So in 2018 there was a question on solid waste. So this when we cover pollution, when we say pollution, we mean air pollution, water pollution, then also the land related pollution issues such as the solid waste management or land degradation or desertification. So we can cover that here. Climate change. So there were some conceptual question also asked with respect to biodiversity. What is the carrying capacity? The concept of carrying capacity, then with respect to wetlands, then interlinking of rivers, that will fall in sustainability. Then a basic question on what is the Biodiversity Act. On sustainability, this has become a major, because every year you can see that there are some questions related to sustainability. If there is a question on green grid, last year there was question on solar energy and environmental impact assessment. And previous to that was a question on coastal sand mining and river interlinking project and developmental projects and their impact on rehabilitation. So we see that the questions, they have been coming from the some of the major topics which were in news this year. So let us begin with some of the questions that were asked this year. So let us begin with the Now, this was the question which was asked. The Nobel Prize of Physics of 2014 was jointly awarded to Akashi, Amano, and Nakamura for the invention of blue LEDs in the 1990. How was this invention? How has this invention impacted the everyday life of human beings? So, this is a see what should be the structure in this is that how we can structure our answer in this is that first we need to develop our answers in a horizontal framework, that what are the subtopics that we should be covering. So we could begin with a definitional type of intro, or what is LED or blue LED. And because the question is talking about that this invention received a Nobel Prize, then we should try to find out the reasons why this LED was given a Nobel Prize. So reasons, or what was the novelty with respect to blue LEDs that it was given Nobel Prize. Okay. Then we will see the applications in our daily lives, which is the major thrust of the question. So when we are writing application, we are basically trying to project its uses, its significance, and but everything is not good about LEDs. So there are some concerns also. So a value addition would be that you could address some of the concerns with respect to blue LEDs. Okay, and then you could write a conclusion, and in conclusion, we could have written about what are the governments across the globe doing, or what is Indian government doing. So Indian government had launched a scheme which was known as Ujala scheme. So this was about subsidizing the LED lights and lighting the street lights with LED lights, and we could conclude with that. Or what are LEDs? LEDs are basically semiconductors. So government has recently launched a national semiconductor mission for setting up of fabrication units. So for it is giving a financial aid or financial assistance for the companies which will set up fabrication units for semiconductors. So we could conclude with some of the government steps. Okay, so what is LED? So LED is basically what LED are nothing but they are essentially semiconductors. So they are semiconductors which emit light when electricity or electromagnetic radiation is passed through them. So they are essentially semiconductors which emit light. So what is the significance of blue LED? The blue LED produces light in the range of blue color. So what is the novelty with respect to blue LED? So this is the more technologically challenging, because to produce blue LED we need to have more energy, or energy range is higher. So the previous LEDs that was produced, that was in the range of red and green. So one of the major achievement with respect to blue LED is that in order to produce a white LED light, we need to have a blue LED light. Why? Because in order to produce white light, we need a combination of red, green and blue LED. So now the smartphones or televisions or laptops screens which use white LED light, they can only be produced only when the first step or the prerequisite is that we have produced the blue LED lights. So here we could write what were the reasons for the Nobel Prize, that production of this blue LED light help us to develop white LED light. So there are other ways also producing white LED, but the first step is we need to have blue LED. And the other novelty features of blue LED light were that it is very energy efficient. So if you look at the efficiency of LED lights, that it can convert 50% of the electricity into light, whereas conventional bulbs, they convert only 4% of the electricity into light energy. So efficiency wise, they are very high, and with respect to their lifetime, that their life cycle is very large. From with respect to conventional bulbs, their lifespan is at approximately 10 times more. So efficiency wise, they are higher, the lifespan is higher, and they are a necessary prerequisites for producing white light. So that is why it was hailed as a revolution in LED technology, and that is why this invention was given the Nobel Prize. So what are the various applications with respect to LED lights? So LED lights, they are now part of our daily lives. So this is what the question is focusing on. So from a basic understanding, these LED lights were majorly used in compact disc DVDs for blue, that was known as Blu-ray disc or compact DVDs. So now they are used in optical scanners for optical printing. So they are used in our mobile screens, in our mobile phone, or the backlit of the televisions, or in laptops. So they are used also in the health sector to produce better sensors. In environment, they are used to monitor the environment. They are also used in high intensity or high intensity photography. Also, they are being used in sectors where we need high intensity light. So they are also used as for decorative purposes. So in our homes, in our offices, we could see these LED lights being frequently used. They are also now being used extensively even in our cars and other transport systems. So they are used in signaling because of their stability. So these are some of the applications with respect to blue LED, but there are some concerns also. So you would be hearing about blue ray blockers glasses. So it is said that continuous exposure to blue light often causes retinal damage, insomnia, or it can also cause cancer. Even though these have been termed as far-fetched conclusions, because some studies show that it does not the damage is not so intense, but it is said that it can cause aging also. So these are some of the concerns with respect to blue LED. So moving on to the conclusion part. So government realized the potential of LED lights because globally of all the electricity produced, 15% of the electricity is consumed in lighting. So the lighting system or lighting sector consumes about 15% of the energy produced. So we needed, so every country actually needs an efficient lighting system. So our government pushed for LED lights. So we had launched the Ujala scheme and also the street lighting with LED lights. So, but the major challenge with respect to Ujala scheme or the success of the Ujala scheme was based on China's competency, because India is not able to, India does not have any fabrication units to produce those semiconductors or the other components required to produce a LED bulb. So our success in Ujala scheme was basically pitched on the ability of China to produce more LED components or semiconductors. So now government has realized that if India has to develop its own potential, so India needs to have own fabrication units. So government has launched very recently the National Semiconductor Mission. This is a $10 billion financial support for all those companies which are interested in producing fabrication semiconductors or setting up fabrication units. So in that way you can conclude that this answer. So this with respect to LED question, there was also a question in this year prelims also. So maybe there is a maybe some sort of continuity is there with respect to prelims and mains. Moving on to the next question. Now, this question, S-400. How is S-400 air defense system technically superior to any other system present available in the world? So now this is a kind of fact-based question. Only if you would have read it properly, could you differentiate between S-400 and other types of air defense system. So some of the famous air defense system is the THAAD of USA, the THAAD of USA. The other air defense system, the famous ones are THAAD of USA or Iron Dome of Israel. And India has what is known as PAD and combination of PAD as iron as air defense system. So this question is trying to ask you some of the technical features of S-400. So we need to begin. We could begin with the very what is S-400, or we could begin with the context why this S-400 is in news, because India is trying to purchase it, and with respect to some of the famous news reports or such as The Economist, it had said that it is one of the most potent air defense system. So you could begin with that, or you could begin with what is S-400. Then we have to mention the features and how those features are basically different from other types of air defense system, and then we could point out what should be India's or India, what is India doing with regard to this, or we can conclude with some of our own developments. So what is this S-400? So S-400. So S-400. So any air missile defense system works on the principle that if there is a missile which is launched, so this is a missile, this is launched, and there are some ground-based radars. These are some ground-based radars, and there are some satellite-based radars also. These are satellite-based radars. So let us say this is an enemy missile. This is an enemy missile and it is trying to hit some of the targets in our country. So we have to intercept this missile. So there are it can be done in between or during the terminal phase also. It can be intercepted with other missiles during the when it is outside the atmosphere or when it is inside the atmosphere at a very close range. So the THAAD, which is the famous US air missile defense system, it acts majorly against cruise missiles and ballistic missiles. So it deploys missiles to intercept them in air, and so basically they try to intercept when they are outside of the atmosphere, or and if they escape this, so they have short range missiles also to intercept them. So this S-400, so the unique features is that the radar system, with the radar system of S-400 is it is said that it is panoramic in nature, that it covers a wide area. And it can detect enemy missiles even as far as 600 kilometers. And this system is capable to intercept missiles if it is in the range of 400 kilometers or less than that. So the radar system is panoramic, and this radar system is so much capable that even if you try to put some jammers, so it has jammer protection also. So enemies or enemy alien countries, they cannot jam these radar systems. Also, These radar systems are so capable that they can track simultaneously more than or nearly 100 targets at a time. And in fact, this S400 can neutralize 80 of the targets at the same time. So this is a unique feature because none of the air defense systems such as Iron Dome or THAAD, they are capable of engaging simultaneously so many targets. Also, the radar system is not so capable. Also, the missiles. In case of THAAD, only two types of missiles are used. Two interceptor missiles are used. But in case of this S400, there are 4 or 5 types of missiles. So it can use multiple type of missile, and the system is so advanced that the computer decides that which type of missile has to be used. So it has a long range missile which is of 400-kilometer range. Then there is a missile of 200-kilometer range, 250-kilometer range, then 120-kilometer range, then also a 40-kilometer range. So the computer automatically decides that which type of missile has to be used for a particular type of incoming missiles. So one of the major differentiating point between this S400 and the other type of missile systems or defense system is that this S400 can target not only missiles, that is ballistic missile and cruise missiles, but it can also target UAVs, fighter pilots, or other type of aircrafts. Much of the air defense system, they focus only on missiles and not on planes and UAVs. But S400 can target aircrafts and UAVs also. So this is one of the major distinguishing feature. Also, it can act, or it can be deployed even in mountainous areas. So where there is a difficulty in monitoring the launch from where the enemy satellite was launched. So it can be deployed even in mountainous regions. And one of the unique feature is that it is mobile system. Mobile system, it means that it can be moved. It basically, all these S400 missiles, they are placed on a truck. These trucks are known as Ural trucks, which are 8x8 trucks, and they are double axled trucks, so they are mobile. And in fact, Russia is also developing a system where they can protect these trucks also. So they are developing this Morpheus system, which will protect any incoming missile which will be targeting these trucks. So this is, in that way, it is most advanced. So India is trying to procure this. So what would be the advantages, or why India is going for S400? So here we can reach the conclusion of the answer, and we could say that this technology, it provides deterrence, and India is pursuing this from Russia. So this would improve our relations with Russia, which has been on downhill from past some time. And this also shows some degree of strategic autonomy, because despite US threatening that India shouldn't go ahead with this procurement or S400, India has gone ahead. This shows that India's foreign policy is resilient, and we are focusing on strategic autonomy. So on that note, we can conclude with this answer. So let us try to see the other question. Now, this question says that what are the research and development achievements in applied biotechnology? How will these achievements help to uplift the poorer section of the society? So now this question has basically 2 parts, and this has been asked in 15 markers. So you have say 3 pages to write this answer. So in the first part, you have to define what is biotechnology, what is applied biotechnology. Applied biotechnology is basically application of the skills and the knowledge of biotechnology sector in solving daily lives issues, or daily lives problems, or practical problems. So we need to write a definition of biotechnology. We can write a general definition, or if we have any global bodies definition, then that would be enhancement. So we could write that, and we have to point out some of the achievements with respect to the developments in the applied biotechnology sector. So we will see how we can write this, but let us first begin with what could be the intro. So, with respect to definition, we can write this first definition in itself, that it is exploitation of the biological processes for the well-being of lives. So, a simple definition could work here. But if you write this European Federation of Biotechnology definition, that is, it is integration of natural science and organisms, cells, parts thereof, and a molecular analog for products and services. So this is a more technical definition and kinds of gives value addition to your definition. So we can use any of the definition to begin our answer. So in biotechnology, definitional introduction is a good way to start. So let me repeat it again. European Federation of Biotechnology, it says that it is the integration of natural science and organisms, cells, parts thereof, and molecular analogs for products and services. See, here I have written that it is a narrow definition, and the second definition that it is techniques of using live organisms or enzymes from organisms to produce products and processes useful to humans. Why are we saying that this is a narrow definition? Because biotechnology, the intention is not only to improve the lives of humans, but also the whole environment, or as such the whole earth. So we could avoid such type of narrow definition. We could use this type of generic definition, or a definition given by a international body. So now the question is with respect to the achievements in the biotechnology sector. So while writing achievements of biotechnology sector, we can take the help of the different branches of biotechnology, and we could write the achievements in those branches. So what are the branches of biotechnology? So these are the 4 branches of biotechnology: red biotechnology, green biotechnology, blue biotechnology, and white biotechnology. So red biotechnology is basically application of biotechnology in the health sector, health of animals and humans. Green biotechnology is basically application of biotechnology in agriculture sector. Blue biotechnology is application in livestock or aquatic application of biotechnology, and white is basically industrial application of the biotechnology sector. So in order to generate points in each, we can write 2-3 points. What are the achievements? So let us begin with let us say red biotechnology, human health. So with respect to human health, we can categorize that how it is helping in diagnosis, how it is helping in treatment, how it is helping in preventive measures or producing vaccines. So in case of diagnosis, so we have developed these tests such as the ELISA test or the PCR test. So in red biotechnology, so we in the diagnosis. So now we have molecular tests such as the ELISA test or PCR test. PCR test, this is a famous test nowadays. So what we are using for COVID is a reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction. So this is a variant of a PCR test. So you need not write the details of that, but this writing just these tests is also good enough. In case of treatment, what are the various achievements with respect to biotechnology? So here we have been able to produce gene edited babies, stem cell therapy, also 3-parent baby. 3-parent baby, this was legalized in UK. So these are some of the achievements with respect to treatment. Also for preventive health, so the major achievement has been production of vaccines, and one of the earliest products of biotechnology was insulin. So nowadays the production of vaccine has become a major talk of the town. So this is one of the major achievement of vaccines. The different types of vaccines that we are producing, we are using biotechnology to produce those vaccines. Whether it is Covishield or Covaxin or Sputnik, they all are produced using biotechnology. So with respect to animal health, we are using this biotechnology tool for improving the breeds of the livestock. So this is with respect to some of the applications or some of the achievements in red biotechnology. In green biotechnology, what are the achievements? So we have been able to produce GM crops. So GM crops such as in India, the only GM crop that is legal, that is BT cotton, but this BT cotton has certain advantages so that we need not, it provides protection against pests. So and because of we have to use less pests now, so even farmers are less exposed to pesticides. That improves their health. It also improves the health of the soil. So we are using, we can also produce GM mustard. So there are trials. GM mustard was produced. So in GM mustard, there was a challenge that the productivity had stagnated. So GM mustard, the productivity is now increasing again because of GM mustard. We also have GM brinjal, which is also providing protection against pest. Also, GM technology is used in food fortification. So we have golden rice, which has provitamin A. So this would enhance the nutritional value of the foods that we are eating. So in green biotechnology also, we see that biotechnology has been able to achieve many things. So now with respect to white biotechnology, in white biotechnology, many of the industrial solvents and the fluids that are needed in industries are being produced through biotechnology. In food industry, this is extensively being used to bake breads or to produce milk products such as cheese, yogurts. Even curd is a product of we can say biotechnology. So in white biotechnology also we are using that. With respect to blue biotechnology, we are trying to improve the stocks of the fisheries. And this biotechnology has major application in the environmental sector also, because it is used in bioremediation, bioenergy, production of bioenergy. And one of the major thrust or major achievement has been in 3D bioprinting. Now, this 3D bioprinting is basically we can produce cells or even organs in the laboratory. So this can help in organ transplantation, which has been a major cause of concern in India. So these are some of the achievements in the biotechnology sector. So now the second part of the question, it asks that how it can uplift or how it can improve the life of the poor. The second part of the question says that how will these achievements help to uplift the poorer section of the society. So if you look at the green biotechnology, if you are able to produce GM crops which are more resistant to pests, then the farmers will its productivity would increase. Farmers would be less using the pesticides, so farmers themselves would be less exposed to pesticides, so their health would remain good. So if pesticides are used in lesser quantity, the health of the soil would also be good. So in that way it is helping the farmer. So in case of GM mustard, the productivity had stagnated, so we are increasing the productivity. If productivity increases, then the income of the farmer increases. So we can link that way. Also, if we come to health sector, so diagnosis. So because of biotechnology, we have developed some cheaper methods of diagnosis, cheaper, faster and more efficient methods of diagnosis, also of treatment. So we are producing vaccines. So these vaccines are very cheap and they are in a way preventing any mishappenings. So these are basically helping poor also. Now with respect to bioremediation or bioenergy, so bioremediation, we can improve the health of the soil again if the soil has been, it had degenerated, or we can treat that with help of biotechnology. So bioremediation can help improve the soil health. Also, one of the major way that biotechnology is helping is in bioenergy, because new sources of energy are being produced which are cheaper and which are more organic in the nature and which produces less carbon dioxide. So it is reducing the carbon footprint, so which in the long term is basically helping the poor section of the society and the farmers. So in this way we can conclude, in this way we can move to the conclusion part, and we can also address some of the ethical questions with respect to biotechnology, that biotechnology is a very potent technology, and misuse of biotechnology can even change the course of the nature. So we saw that in Maharashtra there was and in some other states also there was illegal production of HTBT cotton. So HTBT is herbicide tolerant cotton. So government had banned, but farmers, they wanted to they want that this system, this HTBT cotton should be legalized. Why? Because this herbicide tolerant, they can apply more herbicide and they won't have to at one go, so they won't have to do put herbicide at regular intervals. So this reduces the cost, and that is why they are pushing for that. But the long-term effects could be harmful for the environment and for the farmers themselves. So there are some ethical concerns which needs to be addressed when we talk about biotechnology. So biotechnology, we can conclude our answers with some of the ethical dimensions. Also, with respect to biotechnology, in case of farmers, only few of the companies they have monopoly over the seeds. So what these companies produce, they are known as terminator seeds. That is, these seeds can produce they can produce a crop, and the crop which produces seeds, those seeds cannot reproduce again. So because of that, the farmer always has to go to the companies to buy new seeds. So we see that there is exploitation of the farmers with respect to biotechnology or application of biotechnology. So in this way we can conclude with some positive note also. So let us move to the environment part. Questions related to environment. Green grid. Okay. So this question: explain the purpose of the Green Grid Initiative launched at World Leaders Summit of the COP26 UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow in November 2021. When was this idea first floated in the International Solar Alliance? I think there is some typo error here, because this last part is a little self-explanatory. So what we have to point out here is that what is the purpose of the Green Grid Initiative. Now this topic was quite in news when the summit was being held, and it was covered extensively in our newspapers, in Hindu and in Indian Express, and other magazines had also covered. So what is this Green Grid Initiative? So the idea of one world, one sun and one grid was floated by our Prime Minister in the International Solar Alliance in way back in 2018. So UK, United Kingdom, was also running a similar type of program which was known as Green Grid Initiative. So this year in 2021 summit, both India and UK came together, and they started this initiative that is known as the Green Grid Initiative. So in this Green Grid Initiative, what is this Green Grid Initiative? It is basically we are trying to build a transcontinental electrical grid infrastructure. So this grid infrastructure is basically for the renewable energy. So the idea here is that the solar energy, if the sun sets in the eastern part, but it is rising somewhere in other part of the globe. So what we can do is that we can transfer or using transmission lines, we can flow electricity from one part of the world to other part. So if we have this grid, so this is basically initially for solar, transferring of solar energy, but this grid could also be used for transferring electrical energy produced by let's say wind energy or other type of hybrid energies. So some of the features of this Green Grid Initiative was that it will be launched in 3 phases. The 3 phases: in the first phase, what they are trying, or what countries will try to do is to generate or develop connectivity between the Asian countries. In the next phase, they will try to connect Africa, and in the last phase, they will globalize this whole grid. So this grid, it has what is the purpose of this grid is, so the purpose is multifold. So first of all, the purpose is that there is a three pillar purpose, you can say. The first pillar is with respect to political engagement, second is with respect to institutional engagement, and fourth is with respect to technology and knowledge sharing. So with respect to the first purpose, that is political engagement, we will have to engage the countries across the globe, whether they are from Asia, America, or Africa, or Europe. So this would propose, or it would be an extension of our ideas of Vasudev Kutumbakam. So world will have to come together in order to establish this type of a network or a grid. At the institutional level, at the institutional level, we will have to develop two types of mechanism. One is the financial institutions. Those financial institutions will have to develop new methods of funding or investing. They'll have to generate funds which could help in developing these grids, because these grids will be very complex and very costly. So they will have to come up these financial institutions such as World Bank or other local or regional bodies will have to come up with instruments which will support these green initiatives. Other technical institutions, many global technical bodies would have to come in order to develop some of the technologies which are needed to establish such type of network. Also for knowledge sharing, because this is a nascent sector, because renewable energy world is trying to develop these technologies, so that we have to increase the efficiency of these renewable energies. So there is a need of global cooperation. Also, what would happen if such a grid comes into existence is that it would generate a lot of good jobs. So we see that there is a challenge with respect to jobs in many of the developing countries, especially in India. And economic survey had also mentioned that the increasing casualization of the labor force is a concern for our country. So we need to develop some of the good jobs. So these jobs which would be generated because of such grids would be in the nature of good jobs. So this would help in the long run. It would help our country and the globe itself. So what are the so these are some of the purposes, but there are some challenges also. So when we have to answer this, we also need to address one part, that is with respect to challenges. That what would be the challenges when we are trying to establish or set up a network like this. So the first challenge we can categorize as technological challenge. Why? Because the frequency produced, every grid in different parts of the world, they have different types of frequency. So we'll have to match the frequency, which is a technological challenge. So grid stability is a challenge. So these are the technological challenge. Other challenge is with respect to investment and cost. It would require huge cost. So countries and other big financial institutions will have to come along in order to finance this. Also, because this is a transnational project, so countries will have to come together, and now we are seeing the phenomena of deglobalization and trade war. So going ahead with such projects when countries are acting on their national interests could be damaging for such type of projects. So these are the challenges which we need to address. What should be our conclusion or way forward? We should try to conclude on a positive note, because just as in case of COVID, the world had to come together and fight out and have to produce a collaborative effort. So the climate change is a major threat, and this such steps which can reduce the carbon footprint are good steps, and world or countries should look beyond their narrow interest or national interest and should go ahead with such type of projects, because this is not good only for our generation but also for the upcoming generations. So this is how we can conclude this answer. Moving on to the next question. Now, this is a very fact-based question, but this was in news, and this type of question in an exam pressure situation would become it is quite tricky and difficult to write, because you have to write down some of the numbers which is difficult to replicate in an exam. So, describe the key points of the revised global air quality recently released by WHO organization. How are these different from its last update in 2005? What changes in India's national clean air program are required to achieve these standards? So, first of all, WHO has revised these standards very recently, and this is the first time they are revising from last 2005 standards which they had given. So in these standards, they are basically giving six pollutants. So that is PM 2.5, PM 10, SOx, that is sulfur oxide, then NOx, then nitrogen oxide, then ozone, and also one more. Yeah, carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is one of the pollutants with regards to which they have given their standards. So now they want that you should write a comparative answer, that how it is different from 2005, how these standards are different from 2005, and how our national standards are different from this WHO standards. So in this table, you could see that it is kind of a complex matrix. So what it says here, that PM 2.5 24-hour mean. 24-hour mean, the 2005 standard was that it shouldn't cross 25 microgram per meter cube of air. 25 microgram per meter cube of air. And they have reduced it to 15 microgram. So our standard is this 60. So what we see that are the national ambient air quality standards, that is it prescribes a limit of 60 micrograms. Even the 2005 standard was much more stringent than the R standards. So this is what they are trying to assess, or trying to know how much difference is there. And so for each category, we could see that for PM 10 they have reduced from 50 to 45, and in PM 10 our standard is 100. So for 10 100 microgram in 1 meter cube of air. Also with respect to ozone, so it previously for peak season they did not have any standard, but for 8-hour mean they had 100 microgram, and in India, so this is with respect to O3. O3 is this 100. I know this is the little difficult because these are all just number games. So what we have to do is to draw a comparative chart. So we could draw basically three tabled multiple columns chart. So here we could keep our standards. This would be 2021 standards. This would be 2005 standards, and we could have drawn a comparative chart so as to show how much India's program is lacking behind. So NCAP, National Clean Air Program, was launched in 2018. Now this program was launched specifically for some cities. These cities were called as non-attainment cities. Why? Because according to this standards, they were lagging much behind. So NCAP was launched so that these cities could be brought up to the standards. So this NCAP this was also asked last year. So the aim of NCAP was to reduce 20 to 30% of PM 2.5 and PM 10 from 2017 level. So by 5 years. So this was the aim of NCAP. So these are the basic differences. So you could have written this answer. Next, we'll move on to the next one. So this question it was kind of a direct question, and this was on COP 26, which was held in Glasgow. So describe the major outcomes. Major outcomes of the 26th session of the Conference of Parties to the United Nations UNFCCC. What are the commitments made by India in this conference? Very fact-based question, but you could have attended this because this was in news. So some of the major achievements or the major, see in this question we need to write not only what were the major outcomes, but what were the major, some of the major drawbacks also. Few points, 2-3 points of drawbacks also. Some of the major outcome, what were the major in India's commitments, and we could conclude with some positive note, or what could more be done in with respect to this. So one of the major achievement of COP 26 was this. With respect to finance, that there was a commitment for $130 trillion dollars, $130 trillion financial alliance was set up, and this would also have said more than, it would also have private capital. So the other achievement, this board, a new international sustainability standard board has been established, which will increase the global focus on climate risk disclosure and reporting. This was also the setting up of this board is also one of the major outcome. So next would be the First Movers Coalition unites global companies with supply chain across carbon intensive sector. So in COP 26, the focus was not only on governments but also on the private sector, that private companies should also come ahead and should also commit to reduce the global carbon footprints. So private companies, they were asked to do that. So major international banks have committed to ending all international public financing of new unabated coal power by the end of 2021. So the coal power, they have been a major concern. So the international bodies would reduce their funding to coal power. And also there was this the Glasgow breakthrough are the first set of global leaders led target under the breakthrough agenda. The breakthrough agenda aims to drive down the cost of the sustainable solutions such as clean power, electric vehicle, green steel, sustainable agriculture, and hydrogen production by 2030. So you could have written some of the points. What were the major outcomes? What were some of the major commitments given by India? So India said that India would go for net zero by 2070. India would go for net zero emissions by 2070. It also said that it would a nation's economy, it would reduce the carbon intensity by 45% by the end of the decade. So in the Paris Agreement, we had said that we would reduce our intensity by 30 to 35%. So we have increased that target. Also, 50% of India's energy requirements would come from renewable energy, and we will produce 500 gigawatts of energy from the renewable sector. So these were the major commitments given by our country. What were some of the major drawbacks? It was that all these commitments are basically voluntary in nature, so none of the commitments are basically binding. So this was a major drawback. With respect to finance also, the sum seems very hefty, but if we see the previous experiences of financing, so green financing has not been forthcoming. So this is a major challenge. Also in the Paris climate deal, every country had given a voluntary, had given their own target that was nationally determined, that was called as INDCs or NDCs. So some of the countries, they have given a more ambitious targets, but we'll have to see how those targets are met. So these are some of the drawbacks also. So we could conclude by some of the positive statements, such as how that in this India has shown leadership, and much of the Western media hailed India's commitment because these were some of the very serious commitment given by developing country. India is per capita emission is still very less for India, and despite that, India has gone ahead with major commitments of cutting down its emissions. So these are some of the major achievements with respect to this COP. So here we saw that these were some of the questions which were asked, and with respect to science tech, these questions were kind of thematic in nature. So the themes which were missed previous years, they were asked this year. And in the environment sector, in environment part, the questions were very much in news during this period. So that is why they were asked. So with this, we'll conclude with the discussion of science, technology, and environment questions of the mains 2021. Thank you.